So to us, Lord, thank you for this day. Let this day be great. For the rest of our lives, and protect us and keep us in the way you want us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, welcome again. It's good to see you. Brother, what's your name again?
Judah.
Judah. Okay. All right. It's so good to see both of y'all. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Okay, so if you don't mind, I want you to tell us a little bit about what we talked about last night. Anything that you may remember.
Well, see, I'll be in class. Well, see, some people just can't be.
So you won't stay out of trouble.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, so we're talking about armoring up. We're talking about the armor of God. Okay. Now the only reason to bring this up is if God knows there are some things that might try to hinder us from what He wants us to do and who He wants us to be. Okay. This is part of the protection. This is part of the guidance. This is part of all of that stuff. So He kind of gives us some things, and gives us some equipment, so to be able to help us out. Okay. All right. So you told me that you play football, right? What do you wear on the football field?
I wear flags.
Wear flags. Okay. And what are the flags for?
So you don't get tackled or hit.
So you don't get tackled or hit. Okay. All right. I got you. So our job is to understand that it doesn't matter how old we are, okay? Because a lot of times the tendency is to think that this is for a bunch of old people. But this is not. It's not true. The earlier and the sooner we learn this and the sooner we absorb this, the better off we'll be, okay? All right. So we talked about the armor of God. We talked about we got into loins being girded about with truth. We talked about breastplate of righteousness. We talked about feet being shod or covered with the preparation of the gospel of peace. We talked about the shield. We talked about the helmet of salvation. We talked about the sword. We talked about all of that stuff. What we did not get into, and we're going to get into tonight, is prayer. We're going to get into prayer and watching. You're not afraid of a fly.
No.
It's kind of annoying, isn't it? Yeah, I know, it bothers me too. So we're going to get into prayer. We're going to talk about watching, okay? So when somebody says, when the word prayer shows up, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Anybody? Yes.
Praying to your God.
Brand new, yes, absolutely. What do you think? When the word prayer shows up, what do you think? Okay, all right. So here's the deal. Everybody I know has a friend that they call when they don't have the answers. Matter of fact, I know people, I don't know if y'all deal with this, but I know people who still cheat on other people's stuff. Like when they're in class and there's a test or a paper that needs something that needs to happen, they'll still look over and find out who the smartest person in the room is and kind of cheat off of their stuff. Y'all know about that kind of stuff? I don't think y'all did it, but y'all have seen people act like that. Okay, so here's the deal. God is okay. As a matter of fact, what He wants is for us to lean on Him when we don't have the answers. Like this is a good thing. Now, what does it mean to actually pray? Because we hear this word, quite a bit, particularly in church, and sometimes our parents or grandparents or guardians, they'll say to us, spend time in prayer and we're praying for you and that kind of stuff. So our job is to say, okay, what does this mean? How do we deal with this? What is this all about? All it is just communicating with God, okay? That's all it is. Talking to God and listening to what He has to say. That's what prayer is. The other part of it is doing what He said do. Okay, so you work with a coach? Do you play sports or anything? You work with a coach? Okay, which works better? If we do what the coach says, or if we do it the way that we want to do it, which works best?
Coach.
Right. Now, are we always interested in what the coach has to say?
Yes.
This is a good thing, right? Because coaches typically know what they're doing, right? It's the same way when we're dealing with God. It's the exact same scenario. He knows more. Check it out. No matter how old we are, how old are you?
10.
10 and you are?
11.
11. Okay, so here's the deal. We're not smarter than God. I'm 45. Ain't smarter than God. Okay? Now the issue that we're having is this. Verse 18 says this. Verse 18 says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. Praying always with all prayer. Here's the deal. You gotta always be praying. That's not for old people, that's for us too. Now, always be praying. That just means when I wake up, first of all, let me tell God thank you. Second of all, let me get some instruction on what I'm supposed to do to navigate my day. Because you have no way of knowing what's going to happen when you get to school, right? You have no way of knowing that somebody at the school is having a bad day and they might want to argue or they might want to fight or something like that. You don't know that. You don't know that the teachers or the staff or the adults in the room are having a bad day or a bad morning. And that's why they came in with that weird attitude. You have no idea what that was about. That's why we got to spend time in prayer before we start the day. Because when we do that, we'll be better prepared for whatever happens. Now, my hope is that we've done our homework and all of that stuff as well. But we got to make sure that we've spent time in prayer. Because here's the deal. You might be the reason that something calms down or something does not happen that might have taken a left turn. You might be the thing that, or the person in the room with your energy or something you may say, that might be the difference between everybody having a good day and the whole day taking a left turn. But how would you know that? Unprepared. Okay? So all of this is about it's about our relationship with God. And the deal is, if we have one, let's make sure it's a good one. If we don't have one, let's make sure we start one. That's essentially all that this is about. Your lives are a very big deal to God. Did you know that? Like, you're essentially the apple of God's eye. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. So with all of that going on, He's interested in you having a conversation with you. He's interested in you knowing what He thinks. Y'all got friends? Do you like your friends?
Yes, sir.
Do you like spending time with your friends?
Yes, sir.
If something's going on with them, would you like to help them out if you could?
Yes, sir.
It's the same way it is with God. It's the exact same thing. You are a big deal to Him. And all He wants is for you to be okay. Now, there are some rules, and there's a particular way that we're supposed to live our lives. All of those things, we get to know these things, we develop these things. We got to know these things based on what the Word says, but if we're not studying, then we won't know, right? This is why study is important. Let me ask an odd question. Whatever you say is okay, all right? Y'all know me, right? So it's cool. Whatever you say is fine. Y'all like studying the Bible? You do? Okay, great. How about you? A little bit? Okay. I can live with that. So that's cool. The thing we have to understand is that everything we need is in here. If you want to learn how to be a better football player, it's in here. You want to learn how to be a better person altogether, it's in here. You want to be a better child to your parent, a better godson to your godparents. You want to be a better sister or brother or whatever it is. If that's what you're interested in, you can find the answers right here. All of them. This is why prayer is important. This is why study is important. Okay? All right. Any questions about any of that before we move on? I know you got some questions.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Verse 18 says, why is your Bible not open? Thank you very much. We're in Ephesians chapter 6, same place we was last night. Can you find it? If you need the table of contents, that's okay. Or if my man knows where it's at, that's okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
What was it?
Ephesians chapter 6. New Testament, the other direction. Yeah. Yeah. It's right after Galatians. See Galatians, keep going. There it is. There it is. Chapter 6, verse 18. Got it? Okay, very good. All right. So it says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplications for all saints. Okay, that sounds really big and interesting. Let's sort of get that down to a manageable size. Okay. Now what we're talking about is very simple. First of all, we have to be praying always. Okay. Second of all, we have to be watching. So the sooner you learn this, the better life will be. Okay? If you don't hear nothing else, if you don't remember anything else, please hold on to this. The better you can see, the better your vision is. The more your vision is focused on the stuff around you, the better you'll be. Now you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Because there are things that are coming at you that you might not recognize. There are things coming at you that if you're not paying attention, they can harm you. Okay? First of all, not everybody who's around you that tells you that they love you is actually on your side. Everybody knows that. But how would you know if we're not looking? How would we recognize it if we're not paying attention? Okay? From here on out, our job is to make sure that we are paying attention. While we are praying, we ought to be watching. So here's the deal. From now on, we got to make it a habit. Got to make it a habit of asking God. Somebody says they want to be our friend. God, is this a good idea? We got to make that a habit. Okay? I want to do this, so I want to get into that. Let's make it a habit. God, is this a good idea? God, what are you thinking about this? If it's cool, let's do it. If you don't like it, then we ain't doing it. No matter how much I want to do it, no matter how much fun I think I'll have, no matter any of that stuff. If you're not okay with this idea, God, then we're not going to do it. Okay? We got to make a habit of that from now on. All right. Any questions about that? Yeah, so our job is make sure we just develop those habits. We develop a habit of prayer on a regular basis, not just before we go to bed. Okay? Some of us are guilty of that, but we have to start the day with prayer. We have to go throughout the day with prayer. Okay? But always pay attention to your surroundings. Okay? Because how would you know? How would you know that somebody, one of your friends may need prayer? How would you know if you're not paying attention? Right? One of your teachers, one of the principals, one of the adults, they may need just a moment of prayer because they might be having a bad day. You know that adults have bad days too, right? And that's why their attitude can be stank sometimes, is because their day started off a little bit off. They might have some stuff on their minds. That might be your job that day to offer prayer to them. But how would you know if you're not paying attention to what's going on? Okay? Everything you do, how you doing? Everything you do, everything we do from this moment forward, it requires that we spend time in prayer and we keep our eyes wide open. Okay? All right. Any questions about any of that? None? Now I know I ain't doing that good of a job of teaching this, but that's fine. We'll keep rolling. We'll keep rolling. All right. Verse 19. We'll do a couple more verses and then we're gonna kind of rap a little bit. Okay. We're gonna kind of talk a little bit because I want to hear y'all's thoughts about some things. Okay. All right. Verse 19 says, "And for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel. All right, so people use the word boldly a bit out of place. The word boldly is a bit weird because some people think that just means I can say whatever I want to say whenever I want to say it. Or I can just talk about stuff whenever I feel like it. And the consequences doesn't matter. No. This is about understanding. Yes. Oh, I thought you had your hand up. I was just about to make a very insightful comment. This is about saying when God says for me to speak, I'm not going to be afraid to. In other words, if there's something that's going on or somebody wants me to do something that's not right, I'm not afraid to say no. When somebody asks me to get into some stuff that I know it's going to be harmful and it's going to break my mom's heart, it's going to break my dad's heart, the people that love me, it's going to break God's heart. If I get into this because I'm going to wind up hurting myself, I'm going to be bold enough to say, no, this is not what I'm doing. And honestly, you shouldn't get into this either. Because this is not what God wants us to do. Okay? Now, this is a lot, probably for someone your age. But the sooner you get this, the sooner we get this, the sooner we understand this, the better that we can navigate through our lives. Okay? All right. Any questions? Any comments? Okay. All right. Last verse, and then we're going to have a bit of a rap session. I want to hear y'all's thoughts about some stuff. Verse 20 says, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therefore I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. Now here's the deal. The heavy part of this, so I got to give it some context. Paul was in prison a lot. The reason he was in prison was because he was always telling people about the Lord. Okay? He was always preaching and teaching about the Lord, and the people wasn't trying to hear. Okay? And in a lot of cases, what he was talking about was a bit illegal based on the social structure and the laws that were made and all that. Because, he was persecuted all the time. He was tossed in jail quite a bit. Okay? So what he was saying is even in that state, even in that place, even wherever he was, it didn't matter. He was still going to do and be who he was supposed to be. Now, the reason that we need to understand that is because we might not be quick to say what we need to say amongst our friends. Because sometimes there's a tendency, and y'all may not have this issue, but there's a tendency sometimes with people. If I'm not comfortable, or if I don't feel good about it, or if I don't, sometimes around our friends, we would prefer our friends to keep liking us. We want them to keep enjoying us. We want to stay friends, and so we might not say some things that we really ought to say. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We might have to deal with that kind of stuff. What Paul is saying is, it don't matter who's hearing me, doesn't matter who's around, doesn't matter who's listening. It makes no difference what's going on. I'm gonna still do what I'm supposed to do. Okay? That's the attitude we got to take. All right? Because we'd much rather be by ourselves than with a whole bunch of people who refuse to love God. Okay? People who would influence us to do some things that are not right. People who would rather see us hurting rather than succeeding. It's almost like, what sport do you play?
Basketball.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay. And you're a quarterback. So if you're around people who tell you not to practice, that's probably not the right people to be around. If you're around folk who will encourage you not to take what you're doing seriously, it's probably the wrong people to be around. Okay? Same way with our walk with God. The exact same way with our relationship with God. Okay? If we got people around us who are saying, why you think you got to pray all the time? We might need to just consider the company that we're keeping. If somebody's saying, why you got to be in the Bible for? What does that have to do with our lives right now? That might be the wrong group of people to be around, because they're not interested in our success, where we are heading. Okay? Any questions? Yes.
So, how have you, like, I've been around with a lot of people that doesn't like know what Bibles are, but that's okay because I can teach them.
Mm-hmm.
But
But you know
one
what? That's
time
different.
I teach my granny about the Bible, and she taught me more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting and studying the Bible, and I'm not those bad people that don't really study. I read my Bible sometimes every night.
That's excellent. That's good. Keep on doing that. That's a good thing. Just check whatever night this is. Yeah, perfect. That's good news. I'm happy to hear that. All right, so let's talk a little bit. So when you grow up, what do you think you want to be?
NBA player.
Okay. All right. Any particular team that you like?
Golden State Warriors.
Really? Okay. How about you? What do you think you want to be when you get older?
A teacher.
Oh, that's great. Teachers are fantastic. So the idea is to focus on that now and do the things that are necessary that'll get you there now. Okay? There are some people who, do you know what the word procrastinating means? Procrastinating is when you say, I'll do this tomorrow, or I'll get to that tomorrow, or I won't do this right now. It's like you guys have choices. Okay, procrastinating is when you know it's a good idea to do it right now, but you decide that I'm going to wait to do it later. That's procrastinating, and that can cause some tension in the house, right? Yeah, it can cause a bit of friction. Well, it's the same thing with the lives that we have with God. Sometimes we got to say, look, I got to pray right now rather than I'll do it later on. I got to go ahead and prepare for the road I'm traveling right now. So I got to learn fundamentals about my handles right now, right? I got to learn right now. If you're going to be a teacher, and I think that'd be great. I think that'd be fantastic. Yeah, I believe learning or developing good communication skills right now is a good idea. Okay? Just developing how to talk to folk and how to listen to people and how to understand how people absorb information so that you can be an effective teacher. I think all of that stuff, start developing that right now. Why? Because the sooner you get it, the better you'll be when you get there. This is what I found out. This is what I found out about God a long time ago. Very often, things that we think we want to do, God may be responsible for the reason we want to do it, which means it's already there waiting on us. Our job is to just prepare ourselves for that moment. That's really all we got to do. So every day, we need to be working on whatever that is. But more than being a basketball player, and I believe you got it in you to be there, more than being a great teacher, and I totally believe you got that in you. I believe with all my heart you can be very successful with that. More than that, we got to make sure our relationship with God is solid. Because that's what's going to make it all work. That's what's going to, that'll make, there's a word in here. It's called perseverance. Y'all know what that word means? What do you think?
Perseverance, like, I heard it before.
It's okay. I'm not looking for a right or a wrong answer. So whatever you think it is, we'll talk it through.
Perseverance. Perseverance means do something right.
That's part of it, yeah. Yeah, it actually just means you keep going no matter how hard it is, which is the right thing to do, okay? No matter how difficult it becomes, because it ain't easy doing what you want to do. It ain't easy to be a great teacher, to be a great athlete. It's not always easy, because sometimes you just don't feel good, right? Sometimes the ball, it just don't fall right. Sometimes the floor is weird and you're trying to bounce it and It's something weird with the floor. Sometimes the ball itself, when you're trying to throw it, it just doesn't feel quite right. Sometimes your team is not cooperating, right? Sometimes you're on the floor, you're ready to go. You're ready to get it in and win the game, and your team is lousy. Everybody else wants to be lazy. Nobody else is as interested in the goal as you are. But you got to persevere through that. It means you just got to keep going. Okay? That is the real difference between winners and losers. That's the real difference. Who's willing to just keep going? Who's willing to just take one more step? It's the same way with our relationship with the Most High God. That ain't always easy, because God has a tendency to tell us not to do something that we really want to do. God has a tendency to tell us no when we really want Him to say yes. Just like parents. You ever go to the store and really want something, and the adult with you says no? All the time. There's a tendency for that to happen, right? But the deal is, number one, there's value in the no, because the truth is, we may not need it right now. We may not need it at all. Yes. And see, that's something that's good to know. That's something that's good to know. If you've already had plenty, there is no need to eat anymore. Yeah, see, stuff like that. See, the people who are older than us, they have a tendency to know more than we do. Our problem is we want what we want right now. And it doesn't matter how old you are. I know some people who are much older than both of us who have the same problem. I want exactly what I want right now. And whenever God is saying no or not right now, please understand this is a good thing. How many of you still play with the toys that you got 3 years ago? All of them?
No.
So I asked that question because 3 years ago, there might have been, or maybe even 4 years ago, there might have been some stuff that we really wanted. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Because I know some people who got some stuff last year that don't really play with it no more. It's not really that big of a deal. And they went through all that stuff to get it. But after they got it, they played with it for a while, and now it's either under a bed, in a closet somewhere, it's up on a shelf, and they're not really paying a lot of attention to it. The point is, we don't need everything that we want, and we certainly don't need it exactly when we want to have it, okay? The only thing we absolutely need is a solid relationship with God. Because everything after that can be worked out, okay? All right? Okay. Now, first question. How do y'all feel about school? Yes.
Gotten easier and easier.
Well, that's good news. Okay. What grade you in? Fifth? Okay. Okay. All right. How about you?
It's okay.
That's it? Just okay?
Well, it's great because now I'm at the beginning. Now I'm learning stuff that I wasn't really prepared for, but now I'm like in like developing it, and now I know stuff easy now than it was in the beginning.
Okay. All right. Last night you told me your favorite subject, but I don't remember what it was. It's math and something.
Social studies.
Social studies. Okay. How about you? What's your favorite?
Dismissal, recess.
Exactly.
Dismissal,
Okay.
recess, and lunch.
Dismissal's not a subject though. But I get what you're saying. I totally get it. What I'm encouraging y'all to do is learn as much as you can, okay? Even the stuff you think is boring, go ahead and learn it anyway. Okay? Do the very best you can. You might have to persevere through that. There's a man in here trying to attack me. You might have to persevere through some things that might be a little boring to you. You might have to fight to stay awake sometimes, okay? It's okay. Get up and stretch. Do whatever it is you got to do. But make sure you are absorbing as much information that you can. The worst question you could possibly ask is, when will I ever need this? Okay? People ask that question at school all the time. There'll be certain classes. The teacher will be trying their best to teach some stuff, and we're not listening. We ain't paying attention. We're falling asleep, the whole thing, right? And the question is, when will I need this? When will I ever need to use this? I'm telling you from experience, absorb as much information as you can. When I was in high school, a long time ago, I took a class called Applied Communication. Okay? Now, what this class did, we learned public speaking, we learned team building, we learned all kinds of stuff. Everything that I do now, we did it in that class. But I didn't take it seriously. So a lot of things that I'm doing now, I had to learn how to do it kind of on the fly when I should have just been paying attention a long time ago. All right? So take advantage of every moment that you have in school when somebody's teaching you something, okay? That's my suggestion. Okay? All right, next question. Do you have a favorite teacher? Why is that one your favorite?
They all help me.
Okay. That's a good answer. Okay. You have a favorite? Why is that person your favorite?
Because she's the nicest one.
She's the nicest one? Okay. Are the rest of them mean?
Yes, very mean.
All my teachers are nice. Only about the third grade.
Well, two are mean. No, one is mean.
Yeah.
Now, when you say mean, what does that look like for you?
Rude. Always having an attitude.
Okay. Okay. I understand. All right. Is that your experience as well? What do they seem, angry or frustrated or tired? Or...
They're like taking their anger out on us.
Okay. I got you. Okay. And that's why when we start our day with prayer, particularly for them. This is why we would start our day with asking, first of all, telling God thank you for allowing us to get up, right? Secondly, giving us some instructions on how to move through the day. And thirdly, praying for those mean teachers that we have. Because maybe, okay, so when would you say that they're meanest? In the beginning, in the middle, or toward the end of the day? Yes, sir.
All throughout.
All throughout the day. So they just start out mean.
Yes.
Is that your experience as well? Okay. All right. Well, that's a good time to start the day with prayer, because you never really know what they're dealing with. And here's the deal: y'all may not be any problem at all. But how many people would you say is in a classroom with you? How many other students?
In a classroom like the whole fifth grade or just one class?
Just your class.
26.
26. So it's 26 of you.
Wait, 16.
16 of you. And how many think is in a classroom with you? How many other students you think? 26 people. Okay, so that gives us some information, right? So now we can see it a little clearer. Now you have to deal with the teacher. The teacher has to deal with all of y'all. That might bring about a bit of friction as well, right? Yes.
And I have to deal with the homework.
Well, yeah, everybody's got homework to do.
Actually, I don't, since TCAP is passed and it's the end of the school year, so no homework.
Yeah, same for me.
But before that, you got to deal with homework,
Oh
right?
yeah, a lot.
A lot of it.
I have to study.
Do you like to study?
Go through my hair. I don't want to do that.
I'm glad you didn't do that. I'm glad. Do you enjoy studying? Does it depend on the subject?
Yes,
Well, when you
definitely.
study, it makes you get a good grade. But and it makes you prepare for that test. But when you don't study, you're like, how do I do this? And
Yeah.
nobody can help.
Yeah. That can be a tense moment, right? When you hadn't done the work, and then the teacher calls you. You hadn't studied a lick, and the teacher calls on you for an answer. That can be kind of a tense moment. That's why it's necessary that we go ahead and do the work. That's why it's necessary, no matter what we think about it, because the time will come where either the test is going to show up or the teacher's going to ask a question. And here's the deal. When you're dealing with people who are mean, sometimes it's because they're going through some stuff, okay? So give them a break, okay? Try to give them a little bit of grace, all right? All right, next question. We're going to be done. We're going to be done shortly. Y'all ready for this? Are you guys nice to your teachers? This is what I mean when I say nice. It depends on what. So if they started, you gonna be mean?
I just be mad like sometimes, and then I just be happy again.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
I'm just nice in general.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Even if someone's mean to me, I'll be nice.
Okay. That's a good trait to have. So, are you guys considered to be dependable by your teachers? In other words, whatever they tell you the assignment, you typically will do it? Typically? Okay. All right. So do you turn your homework in? Okay, good. Because I know some people who would do the work but won't turn it in. Yeah, and I don't understand why that is. Y'all know people like that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they do that?
Because we probably forget.
Forget.
Probably be playing video games, watching SpongeBob.
Watching SpongeBob. And SpongeBob would help you to forget to turn in the homework that you work so hard for on doing. Okay. Focus is a big deal, okay, y'all? Let's make sure we stay focused, all right? All right, because we don't want that kind of stuff to happen. It's a shame to work very hard on homework and don't turn it in. And parents think it's weird because it's one thing to hear they didn't do it. It's another thing to hear they did it but just didn't turn it in. That part of it, parents have a tough time processing that. Okay. All right. So, summer is coming, right? Y'all have plans for summer? Yes.
I'm going to my favorite community center.
Okay.
Hadley Park.
Hadley. Okay. Like to play ball there?
Basketball, other sports center. I love Hadley Park.
Okay. All right. Very good. What about you? You got plans for the summer?
I was gonna stay at home and chill.
Okay.
Go to summer school.
Okay. All right. You don't seem very happy about summer school. You're not excited about it. I'm sorry. Well, I hope something good comes out of summer school. Yeah.
And it's at Franklin, and I don't even live in Franklin. I live in Wood.
I'm sorry.
But at least I go to school and learn and prepare me for the next 5th grade.
Mm. Is it for the whole summer or is it just a few weeks or?
End of January.
The end of
I mean, end of July.
End of July. Oh man, that is the whole summer. I'm sorry. Wow.
Oh, I had to go the first day of summer break. But 2 years ago, I had to go exactly when summer break ended. I waited one day. The next day, I went to summer break. It was cool.
Wow. So you didn't get a summer at all?
No.
That year? Wow.
The only thing I did was for summer school. Unless it was the weekend.
Yeah.
So I just had school.
So that was like an all year round kind of thing for you.
Yep.
Oh man. Wow. There are some people that would like for school to be year round. Would y'all like that?
Well,
With maybe a break here, a break there. What do you think?
if they add more breaks and make them longer, yeah.
What do you think about that?
Because next year, they said instead of having like one half a day of school, they're just going to be out for the days. Like on the last day, instead of having half a day, like 2 hours, not going to go to school. They're trying to give us breaks because the pain and we wake up suffering and our parents just wake us up in our good naps.
You called it pain and suffering? Okay. Yes, sir.
You're lucky. I had to go to a magnet school. That magnet school is really strict. Like on Monday, I had to go to that magnet school at 5:30. Just to see how it is.
5:30 in the morning? Wow.
I'm pretty sure 5:30 in the morning. Unless it's afternoon, but I'm pretty sure it's in the morning because that's a morning school.
Wow. Yeah, that is early. And it's pain and suffering to get to. Do you stay up late?
At least it was like what we're doing now when we get home late. But besides that, because I have to go to bed at 8 to 8:30.
Okay.
And I wake up at 5 to 5:30.
I'm a morning person.
You are?
I don't like the night.
Okay. I thought you were saying you weren't a morning person. Okay. All right. See, I'm asking these questions because, well, one, I like to get to know y'all. But most importantly, these are some of the challenges that would require that prayer would be good. Because it's not pain and suffering for somebody to wake you up in the morning. It's not painful, okay? It might be something that you don't like. It's not necessarily pain and suffering. Yes.
Depending if you have practice that night before.
Yeah, like basketball practice.
Football practice, you have to run 7 laps around the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even run once.
Why?
Because I got to stop and breathe.
Okay. All right. I get you. The pain and the suffering, it might come with what you want to do because you want to play the sport, right? Okay, good. But your people waking you up in the morning to start your day doesn't really qualify as pain and suffering. But I get it. I understand. I wish you guys the best, okay? I want you guys to be the very best you can be, okay? But just make sure when you're studying, when you're moving forward, when you're playing basketball, when you're playing football, when you're doing whatever it is that you're going to do, just make sure you and God are solid, okay? Because that's the only one that will give you the answers you need to everything, okay? Sometimes there's a tendency to ask our friends about things, get advice from our friends, because the thinking is they can relate to us. I'm 11 years old. I got a friend that's 9. I think we understand one another. That's a bad tendency. It's okay to have people around that can kind of understand what you're going through or relate to what you're going through, but the real answers, they always come from God, okay? And there is no getting around that. All right? Okay. All right. So before we shut this down, we might ask one of y'all to lead us in prayer. We're about done. Yes, ma'am. You want to pray? Okay. Cool. So the last thing that I want to get into is make sure. Let me read this so y'all will know I'm not making it up. Chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 says this. And I want you to carry this with you, okay? Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Verse 2. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Okay? Now, this is what I need y'all to go home with. Okay? The word obey. That's exactly what it means. Do exactly what your parents are telling you to do. Okay? There is a tendency now for people to want to negotiate with their parents. This is a bad idea. It's empty. Oh, there you go. There you go. The trigger's on the bottom. The word obey. It means obey. That means when the parent says, clean up your room, just do it. As a matter of fact, they probably shouldn't have said it in the first place. It should already be done. Okay? Parents love it. Old people love it when they don't have to tell young people what to do. Okay? When we're talking about taking the trash out, cleaning the room, making sure an area is clean, picking up after yourself. You know, sometimes there's a tendency after a long day of practice or whatever to just take something off and just throw it somewhere. No, let's not do that ever again. Okay? Obey means exactly that. Obey, just do what they say. The latter part is honor your father and your mother. You know what that means? That means honoring them. Yeah, what you about to say?
To acknowledge them,
Yes.
praise them.
Yes. You know, the best way to do that is whatever they have been teaching you, do that. If they've been teaching you some good habits, if they've been teaching you how to function, how to navigate, how to take care of yourself, how to navigate at school, how to not embarrass yourself nor them when you're out in the stores and stuff like that, make sure that that's what you do. Okay? It's not just obeying them is one thing. Honoring them is a different thing. Obeying is doing what they said. Honoring them is about sort of doing what you've been taught. In other words, if your parents are respectful to others, and we've seen that happen, we're honoring them by doing the exact same thing. Okay? If they are good communicators with people, and they don't just pop off, and they don't just go off all the time, and they don't just have short fuses and yell at people all the time. If they don't act like that, we're honoring them by acting the exact same way. We honor them by making sure we understand we are carrying their name. Okay? We represent them. Everything we do is a representation of them. It is a reflection of them. Okay? So you might have great parents, but the people around you might not know it because of the way you act. Okay? The people might not know. Your parents teach you things, they take good care of you, it's all good, but because we get out there and do something weird, people might not know it. Okay? So we want to make sure from here on out, whether we want to do it or not, obeying and honoring our parents is exactly what God wants us to do. Are you with me? Sure? Positive? You with me? Okay. All right. Would you lead us in prayer, please? And then we're about to go. What's going on? You leaving? Okay, well go ahead. And you can pray when you get back. You sure? Okay. All right. Go right ahead.
Our Father, who art in heaven, that be the name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us who trespass against us, forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thou is the kingdom, and power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Camera.